There was a time in America when Christmas was illegal. Tonight, we explore the hidden history of how this beloved holiday was once banned, branded as dangerous, and driven underground by some of the most religious people in the New World. These are the untold stories of America's war on Christmas that happened centuries before modern culture battles. The snow fell silently on the cobblestones of Boston on December 25, 1659, but the city showed no signs of celebration. Shops remained open, children attended school, and anyone caught observing the holiday faced a fine of 5 shillings. This was not a scene from some distant, oppressive land, but from the heart of Puritan New England, where the very people who had fled religious persecution in England had made the celebration of Christmas a criminal offense. What modern Americans never learned in school was that for 22 years, from 1659 to 1681, Christmas was officially banned in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. The General Court had decreed that whosoever shall be found observing any such day as Christmas or the like, either by forbearing of labor, feasting, or any other way, would be subject to a substantial fine. This was not just about religious differences. It was about the fundamental question of what America would become. The morning mist that rose from Boston Harbor on that first illegal Christmas carried with it the scent of rebellion and the sound of hammers. While much of Europe celebrated the birth of Christ, the Puritans of Massachusetts were deliberately rejecting what they saw as a dangerous Catholic corruption that had infected true Christianity. Their shops remained open as acts of defiance against what they called the trappings of popery and rags of the beast. To understand why Christmas became illegal in America, we must step back to the Mayflower itself. The Puritans who arrived in 1620 brought with them not just a vision of religious freedom, but a deep suspicion of Christmas that would shape American culture for generations. They were not merely killjoys or opponents of joy. They were theological revolutionaries who believed that Christmas, as celebrated in England, was a dangerous mixture of paganism and Catholic ritual that had nothing to do with the birth of Christ. William Bradford, the governor of Plymouth Colony, documented the first clash over Christmas in America in 1621. On December 25th, he called the men to work as was customary, but some of the newer arrivals claimed it went against their conscience to work on Christmas. Bradford, showing remarkable diplomatic skill for the time, told them he would spare them until they were better informed. But when he returned at noon, he found them playing games in the street. What happened next would echo through American history for centuries. Bradford confiscated their gaming equipment and delivered a stern rebuke that revealed the Puritan philosophy about Christmas. If they made the keeping of it a matter of devotion, let them keep to their houses, but there should be no gaming or reveling in the streets. This was not about private worship. It was about public order and the kind of society the Puritans intended to build in the New World. The evening shadows that fell across the Massachusetts colony carried whispers of a deeper theological battle. The Puritans had studied their Bibles carefully and found no scriptural basis for celebrating Christ's birth on December 25th. They knew that the December date had been chosen not for religious reasons, but because it coincided with the winter solstice and ancient Roman festivals like Saturnalia. To them, Christmas was essentially a pagan holiday dressed up in Christian clothing. The Reverend Increase Mather, one of the most influential Puritan ministers, made the case against Christmas with scholarly precision. He wrote that Christmas occurred on December 25th, not because Christ was born in that month, but because the heathens' Saturnalia was at that time kept in Rome, and they were willing to have those pagan holidays metamorphosed into Christian ones. This was not ignorant prejudice. It was informed theological criticism based on historical research. But the Puritans' opposition to Christmas went beyond theology to encompass their vision of social order. Christmas, as celebrated in 17th century England, was not the quiet family holiday of modern imagination, but something more like Mardi Gras. Known as Fool's Tide, the celebration involved cross-dressing crowds parading through streets, heavy drinking, bawdy songs, and the tradition of wassailing, where poor people would demand entrance to wealthy homes and expect to be fed and entertained. The social inversion that characterized English Christmas celebrations deeply troubled Puritan leaders who were trying to establish a godly society based on clear hierarchies and moral order. During Christmas, servants could mock their masters, the poor could demand hospitality from the rich, and normal social rules were suspended. The Puritans saw this not as harmless fun, but as dangerous chaos that undermined the very foundations of civilized society. The winter wind that howled through the bare branches of New England trees carried stories from the old country that only strengthened Puritan resolve. In England, Christmas had become associated with political rebellion as well as social disorder. When the Puritans gained control of Parliament after the English Civil War, one of their first acts had been to ban Christmas throughout England. The festival had become a symbol of everything they opposed: Catholicism, monarchy, and social chaos. The formal ban on Christmas in Massachusetts came in 1659, during a period of particular religious intensity. The law was part of a broader effort to prevent disorders arising in several places within this jurisdiction by reason of some still observing such festivals as were superstitiously kept in other countries. The 5-shilling fine was substantial for the time, equivalent to about $50 today, enough to deter all but the most determined Christmas celebrants. What the textbooks never revealed was that this law was not simply imposed from above by authoritarian leaders, but reflected genuine popular support among many colonists who shared Puritan beliefs about Christmas. The ban passed easily through the general court because it articulated the theological and social concerns of a significant portion of the population. These were not just rules imposed by killjoy leaders. They represented the sincere religious convictions of a community trying to build a new kind of society. The enforcement of the Christmas ban was more complicated than the law suggested. Historical records show no prosecutions under the 1659 statute, suggesting that this was not a case of secret police hunting down Christmas celebrants, but rather a public statement of community values. The Puritans were primarily concerned with preventing public disorders, not with policing private religious observances in people's homes. Private celebration of Christmas continued in some homes throughout the ban, particularly in fishing towns far from Boston, where Puritan authority was weaker and where residents were notorious for irreligion, heavy drinking, and loose sexual activity. These communities maintained Christmas traditions in secret, creating an underground network of celebration that would eventually emerge when the ban was lifted. The Christmas prohibition was unique to Massachusetts among the American colonies. New York, with its Dutch heritage, continued to celebrate St. Nicholas Day. Virginia, with its Anglican traditions, maintained Christmas observances. Pennsylvania, founded later by Quakers, took a more tolerant approach to religious diversity. Massachusetts stood alone in its complete rejection of Christmas as a legitimate Christian holiday. The spring of 1660 brought news from England that complicated the Puritan position on Christmas. The English monarchy had been restored under Charles II, and with it came restoration of traditional holidays, including Christmas. Political pressure from the motherland began to mount for Massachusetts to conform its laws to English practice. But the Puritans remained steadfast in their opposition, keeping the ban in place for another generation. The theological arguments against Christmas were sophisticated and went far beyond simple anti-Catholic prejudice. Puritan scholars noted that the early Christian church had not celebrated Christ's birth with special festivals, that the December date was historically inaccurate, and that the traditions associated with Christmas derived from pre-Christian winter solstice celebrations. They saw themselves not as opponents of Christianity, but as defenders of pure Christianity against corrupt additions. The economic implications of the Christmas ban were significant, but often overlooked. By keeping shops open and maintaining normal work schedules during what would have been a holiday period, Massachusetts maintained productivity during a time when other regions experienced seasonal economic slowdowns. Some historians argue that this Puritan work ethic, embodied in their rejection of Christmas leisure, contributed to New England's early economic development. The educational aspects of the Christmas ban were equally important. Puritan schools remained open on December 25th, sending a clear message about priorities and values. Children were taught that the observance of human traditions was less important than the study of Scripture and the pursuit of godly learning. This emphasis on education and intellectual development over traditional celebrations became a defining characteristic of New England culture. The social pressure to conform to the Christmas ban created interesting dynamics within Puritan communities. Families who might have privately observed Christmas had to be careful not to let their celebrations become visible to neighbors who might report them to authorities. This created a culture of religious conformity and mutual surveillance that extended far beyond Christmas to other aspects of daily life. The international implications of Massachusetts' Christmas ban were considerable. European observers noted with interest, and sometimes alarm, that a Christian colony would ban the celebration of Christ's birth. This contributed to the growing reputation of Puritans as religious extremists and complicated diplomatic and trade relationships with other Christian nations where Christmas was an important cultural institution. The literary and cultural impact of the Christmas ban extended well beyond the colonial period. The image of stern, joyless Puritans became embedded in American culture, influencing how later generations understood both their religious heritage and their relationship to pleasure and celebration. This cultural memory would shape American attitudes toward Christmas long after the ban itself was lifted. The end of the Christmas ban came not from a change of heart among Massachusetts Puritans, but from external political pressure. In 1681, King Charles II and his royal commissioners demanded that the colony conform its laws to English practice. The Massachusetts General Court reluctantly repealed the Christmas ban, but popular sentiment remained largely unchanged. For many colonists, the legal change did not represent an acceptance of Christmas, but a surrender to political necessity. Even after the ban was lifted, Christmas remained unpopular in New England for more than a century. Samuel Sewall, the famous Puritan diarist, recorded his observations of Christmas in the years following the repeal. In 1685, he noted with satisfaction that carts came to town and shops opened as usual, that some somehow observed the day, but were vexed that the body of the people profaned it, and blessed be God, no authority yet compelled them to keep it. The morning light that broke over Massachusetts on December 26, 1681, revealed a society that had officially ended its war on Christmas, but remained deeply ambivalent about the holiday. The legal prohibition was gone, but the cultural and theological objections that had created it persisted. It would take another century and massive social changes before Christmas would become widely accepted in New England. The legacy of the Puritan Christmas ban extended far beyond Massachusetts and far beyond the colonial period. It established a tradition of American religious groups using political power to enforce their vision of proper Christian behavior on broader society. This precedent would influence later debates about the role of religion in American public life, from Sunday blue laws to modern culture war controversies about Christmas displays in public spaces. As the winter winds of 1681 carried away the last legal restrictions on Christmas celebration, they also carried the seeds of a uniquely American approach to religious holidays. The Puritan ban had not destroyed Christmas in America, but it had fundamentally changed how Americans would think about the relationship between religious observance, cultural tradition, and governmental authority. The debate that began in colonial Massachusetts would echo through American history to the present day.
What they never taught in school was that America's first war on Christmas was fought not by secularists or anti-religious forces, but by some of the most devoutly religious people in the New World. The Puritan ban on Christmas reveals the complex and often contradictory nature of American religious freedom, where the same people who fled religious persecution were willing to impose their own religious views on others. It reminds us that the story of Christmas in America is not a simple tale of increasing acceptance and celebration, but a complicated history of conflict, compromise, and cultural change that continues to shape American society today. The theological scholarship that supported the Puritan position on Christmas was extensive and sophisticated, drawing from biblical studies, church history, and contemporary religious debates throughout Protestant Europe. Puritan ministers wrote lengthy treatises explaining why Christmas celebration was biblically unjustified and historically corrupted. They cited early church fathers who had expressed skepticism about December celebrations and pointed to documentary evidence showing how pagan festivals had influenced Christian holiday development. The legal framework that made Christmas illegal in Massachusetts was part of a broader system of religious law that governed many aspects of daily life in Puritan communities. The same legal code that banned Christmas also regulated Sabbath observance, church attendance, and moral behavior. Christmas prohibition was not an isolated restriction, but part of a comprehensive legal system designed to create a godly society that reflected Puritan understanding of biblical requirements for Christian living. The cultural resistance to Christmas that persisted in New England long after the legal ban was lifted reflected deep-seated theological and social convictions that could not be changed by legislation alone. Many New England families continued to view Christmas with suspicion well into the 19th century, maintaining Puritan skepticism about celebrations that seemed to emphasize pleasure over piety, consumption over contemplation, and human tradition over divine revelation. The comparative religious studies that emerged from the Puritan examination of Christmas provided important scholarly contributions to understanding the development of Christian holidays and their relationship to pre-Christian traditions. Puritan scholars were among the first to systematically analyze how December 25th had been chosen as Christ's birthday, and how various Christmas customs had developed over centuries of Christian history. Their research influenced later academic studies of religious holiday development. The social control mechanisms that the Christmas ban represented extended beyond religious conformity to encompass broader questions about community authority, individual liberty, and the role of government in regulating cultural practices. The ban demonstrated how religious communities could use legal power to enforce their vision of proper Christian behavior while raising important questions about the limits of such authority and the rights of dissenting minorities. The economic disruption caused by Christmas prohibition was minimal in Massachusetts, because the colony's economy was not yet dependent on seasonal retail activity or holiday-related commerce. Most colonists lived in agricultural or artisan economies, where Christmas celebration would have involved minimal commercial activity beyond increased food consumption and perhaps small gift exchanges among family members. The economic impact of banning Christmas was much less significant than it would become in later centuries. The generational differences in attitudes toward Christmas ban reflected broader changes in Puritan society, as younger colonists, particularly those born in America rather than England, began to develop different perspectives on religious authority and cultural practice. Second and third generation Puritans were often less rigid about theological distinctions that had seemed crucial to their immigrant parents, creating internal pressure for religious and cultural moderation. The documentation of Christmas ban enforcement reveals interesting patterns in colonial law enforcement and community policing. While no formal prosecutions occurred under the Christmas ban statute, informal social pressure and community surveillance helped maintain compliance with the law. Neighbors reported on each other's activities, ministers preached against Christmas observance, and community leaders modeled proper behavior by maintaining normal work schedules on December 25th. The international diplomatic implications of the Christmas ban occasionally created problems for Massachusetts in its relationships with other colonies and with England. Trading partners and political allies sometimes viewed the Christmas ban as evidence of dangerous religious extremism that could complicate commercial and political relationships. The ban became a symbol of New England difference that sometimes hindered broader colonial cooperation and unity. The intellectual legacy of Puritan Christmas opposition influenced American religious thought well beyond the colonial period, contributing to ongoing debates about the relationship between biblical authority and human tradition in Christian practice. Puritan arguments against Christmas were cited by later religious groups who questioned the biblical basis for various Christian celebrations and practices. The intellectual framework of Puritan Christmas opposition became part of American religious discourse that influenced multiple generations of religious leaders and thinkers. The transformation of Christmas from banned holiday to beloved tradition happened not through laws or royal decrees, but through the quiet revolution of stories, sentiment, and social change. Tonight, we explore how America fell in love with Christmas again, thanks to writers, immigrants, and a cultural shift that would reshape the nation's understanding of family, charity, and celebration. The gaslight flickered against the frost-covered windows of a New York parlor in December 1823, as a father prepared to share a special poem with his children. Clement Clark Moore had no idea that his playful verses about a visit from St. Nicholas would become one of the most influential pieces of writing in American history. His poem would help transform Christmas from a controversial religious observance into a magical celebration centered on children, family, and the spirit of giving. What educators never revealed was how dramatically Christmas was reinvented in 19th century America. The holiday that emerged from this transformation bore little resemblance to either the raucous English celebrations that Puritans had banned or the solemn religious observances that replaced them. This new American Christmas was something entirely different. A domestic festival that emphasized family bonds, children's joy, and acts of charity toward those less fortunate. The morning sun that rose over American cities in the 1820s illuminated a society undergoing rapid change. Immigration was bringing new traditions from Germany, Ireland, and other European nations. Industrialization was creating urban middle classes with disposable income. The growth of publishing was spreading new ideas about childhood,
family life, and domestic happiness. All of these forces would converge to create the perfect conditions for Christmas revival.
Washington Irving played a crucial role in this transformation through his writings about Christmas traditions in his 1819 collection, The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon. Irving's romantic descriptions of English Christmas celebrations at Bracebridge Hall painted a picture of warm hospitality, family togetherness, and charitable generosity that appealed to American readers hungry for traditions that emphasized community and kindness rather than religious controversy. The success of Irving's Christmas stories revealed something important about American society in the early 19th century. People were looking for ways to create meaning and connection in an increasingly mobile and commercialized world. The old Puritan rejection of Christmas had left a cultural vacuum that Irving and others began to fill with new kinds of celebration that emphasized human warmth and domestic happiness over theological disputes. But it was Charles Dickens who truly captured the American imagination with his 1843 novella, A Christmas Carol. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge's transformation from miser to benefactor resonated powerfully with Americans who were grappling with the social problems created by rapid industrialization. Dickens showed that Christmas could be a force for social reform and personal redemption, not just religious observance or secular celebration. The winter evenings of the 1840s found American families gathered around parlor tables, reading aloud from Dickens's Christmas stories by the light of oil lamps and candles. These reading sessions became Christmas traditions in themselves, creating shared cultural experiences that transcended religious and regional differences. Dickens had given Americans a vision of Christmas that was both deeply moral and thoroughly enjoyable. The character of Tiny Tim became particularly important to American audiences because he represented the possibility of redemption through Christmas spirit. In a society struggling with questions of poverty, inequality, and social responsibility, Dickens provided a model for how Christmas celebration could include genuine concern for those less fortunate. The holiday became associated not just with family happiness, but with social conscience and charitable action. Queen Victoria's influence on American Christmas cannot be understated, despite the fact that America had declared independence from Britain decades earlier. When an illustrated newspaper showed the royal family gathered around a Christmas tree in 1848, American magazines quickly reprinted the image. The illustration in Godey's Lady's Book, with the Queen's crown and Prince Albert's mustache diplomatically removed to make them appear more American, became one of the most influential images in American Christmas history. The power of this royal Christmas image lay in what it represented: a respectable middle-class family enjoying a wholesome holiday celebration centered on children's happiness and family togetherness. This was Christmas without the rowdy street celebrations that had troubled the Puritans, without the excessive drinking and social disorder that had made the holiday controversial. This was Christmas as domestic bliss and moral education. The transformation of American Christmas accelerated during the 1840s and 1850s as new technologies and social changes made celebration easier and more appealing. The growth of the postal system allowed for Christmas cards and correspondence. Improvements in printing made illustrated books and magazines more affordable. Railroad networks enabled families to travel for holiday visits. Gas lighting made evening gatherings more pleasant and practical. The soft glow of gas lamps illuminated American homes where Christmas was being quietly reinvented as a celebration of childhood innocence and parental love. The holiday was becoming child-centered in ways that would have been unimaginable to earlier generations.
Children were no longer seen as miniature adults who needed to be controlled and disciplined, but as special beings whose joy and wonder could redeem the adult world. This new understanding of childhood transformed how Christmas was celebrated. Gift-giving became focused on children's desires rather than adult needs. Decorations emphasized whimsy and magic rather than religious symbolism. Stories and songs celebrated the wonder of childhood rather than theological doctrines. Christmas was becoming a time when adults could experience the world through children's eyes and recover a sense of innocence and possibility. The magazine industry played a crucial role in spreading these new Christmas ideas throughout American society. Publications like Godey's Ladies' Book, Harper's Magazine, and The Atlantic Monthly featured Christmas stories, poems, decorating advice, and gift suggestions that helped standardize and spread new traditions. These magazines created a shared national culture around Christmas that transcended regional and religious differences. Women's magazines were particularly important in defining the new American Christmas. They emphasized the role of mothers and wives in creating magical holiday experiences for their families. Christmas became associated with domestic skills like cooking, decorating, and gift-making that were considered particularly feminine. The holiday reinforced ideals of domestic femininity while giving women significant authority over family cultural life. The economic aspects of Christmas transformation were as important as the cultural ones. The growth of manufacturing made toys, decorations, and gifts more affordable and available. Department stores began creating elaborate Christmas displays to attract customers. Publishers produced special Christmas books and magazines. A whole Christmas economy was emerging that would eventually make the holiday one of the most important commercial events of the year. The evening shadows that fell across American cities in the 1850s revealed store windows decorated for Christmas with toys, books, and ornaments that would have been unimaginable just a generation earlier. Shopping for Christmas presents was becoming a new kind of urban adventure as families ventured into downtown districts to browse the latest offerings and participate in the emerging culture of Christmas consumption. The religious aspects of Christmas were also being transformed during this period. Rather than emphasizing theological controversy or denominational differences, Christmas was being recast as a celebration of universal Christian values like love, charity, and redemption. This made it possible for different Protestant groups to participate in Christmas without compromising their particular theological positions. The social reform movements of the 1850s found Christmas particularly appealing as a vehicle for their messages about social responsibility and moral improvement. Christmas charity became an important way for middle-class Americans to address poverty and social problems. The holiday provided opportunities for demonstrating Christian virtue through acts of kindness and generosity toward those less fortunate. Regional differences in Christmas celebration began to diminish as national magazines, improved transportation, and shared cultural experiences created more uniform traditions. The stark differences between Puritan New England and Anglican Virginia were giving way to a more homogeneous American Christmas that combined elements from various traditions while emphasizing themes that appealed to the emerging middle class. The Civil War period brought new urgency to Christmas celebration, as families separated by conflict looked to the holiday for comfort and connection. Christmas became associated with peace, reunion, and healing during a time of national trauma. The holiday provided a vision of domestic harmony that offered hope during a period of unprecedented social disruption and violence. Soldiers in both Union and Confederate armies celebrated Christmas in camps and battlefields, creating makeshift celebrations that emphasized camaraderie,
shared memories of home, and hope for eventual reunion with families. These military Christmases often included informal truces, shared meals, and entertainment that helped maintain morale during difficult times. The holiday became a symbol of the human values that transcended political and military divisions. The technological innovations of the mid-19th century made Christmas celebration more elaborate and appealing. The development of chromolithography made colorful Christmas cards affordable. Improvements in glassmaking created beautiful ornaments. Gas lighting allowed for evening celebrations and parties. Photography enabled families to document their Christmas celebrations and create lasting memories. The immigration patterns of the 1850s and 1860s brought new Christmas traditions to America that enriched and diversified the holiday's cultural content. German immigrants brought Christmas trees, gingerbread, and elaborate holiday foods. Irish immigrants contributed their own traditions of Christmas storytelling and celebration. These ethnic influences were gradually absorbed into a distinctly American Christmas that was more diverse and interesting than earlier Puritan or Anglican versions. The architectural changes of the mid-19th century also influenced Christmas celebration. The growth of suburban housing with separate parlors and dining rooms provided better spaces for holiday entertaining. Larger windows allowed for better display of Christmas trees and decorations. Improved heating systems made winter gatherings more comfortable and practical. The physical environment was becoming more conducive to elaborate Christmas celebrations. The musical traditions associated with Christmas were also evolving during this period. Christmas carols that had been banned or discouraged by Puritans were being revived and popularized. New songs were being written that emphasized themes of family, children, and domestic happiness, rather than strictly religious content. Music became an important way for families to participate in Christmas tradition and create shared emotional experiences. The educational changes of the mid-19th century influenced how Christmas was understood and celebrated. The growth of public education and literacy meant that more Americans could read Christmas stories and participate in the literary culture surrounding the holiday. Schools began incorporating Christmas programs and celebrations that helped spread standardized traditions and created shared experiences across different communities. The morning light that dawned on Christmas Day, 1860, revealed an America that had been fundamentally transformed in its relationship to the holiday. In just 40 years, Christmas had evolved from a banned and controversial observance to a beloved national celebration that expressed some of the deepest values and aspirations of American society. The holiday had become a time for expressing ideals about family, childhood, charity, and social harmony. This transformation was not complete or universal. Many Americans, particularly in New England, remained ambivalent about Christmas celebration. Regional, religious, and class differences continued to influence how the holiday was observed. But the basic framework of modern American Christmas had been established: a domestic celebration centered on children, emphasizing gift-giving, family togetherness, and charitable concern for others. The winter wind that whistled through American towns on Christmas Eve, 1860, carried with it the sounds of a holiday that had been thoroughly reinvented for a new age. What they never taught in school was that this transformation represented one of the most successful cultural revolutions in American history, changing not just how Americans celebrated Christmas, but how they understood family life, childhood, charity, and the possibilities for human happiness in an increasingly complex world. As we listen to the distant echoes of Victorian Christmas celebrations, we can hear the voices of writers like Dickens and Irving, see the glow of gas lamps illuminating family gatherings, and feel the excitement of children discovering new traditions of celebration that would shape American culture for generations to come. They created a Christmas that was both deeply meaningful and thoroughly enjoyable, setting the stage for all the commercial and cultural developments that would follow in the century ahead. The publishing industry's role in spreading Christmas traditions was revolutionary for its time, creating the first truly national Christmas culture in American history. Christmas books, magazines, and newspapers carried identical stories, poems, and illustrations to communities across the continent, ensuring that families in California, Texas, and Maine all received similar messages about proper Christmas celebration. This media-driven standardization of Christmas helped create shared American experiences that transcended regional differences. The photographic revolution of the mid-19th century began documenting Christmas celebrations for the first time, creating visual records of how American families actually celebrated the holiday, rather than how writers and artists imagined they should celebrate it. These early Christmas photographs reveal the growing importance of children in holiday celebrations and the increasing elaborateness of Christmas decorations and gift-giving practices in middle-class American homes. The musical transformation of Christmas during the Victorian era was equally significant as the literary changes that captured public attention. Traditional Christmas carols that had been suppressed or forgotten during the Puritan period were revived and republished for American audiences. New Christmas songs were composed that emphasized family sentiment, childhood innocence, and domestic happiness rather than strictly religious themes. Music became an important way for families to participate in Christmas tradition together. The architectural changes that accompanied Christmas revival included the development of parlor spaces specifically designed for family entertainment and holiday celebration. Victorian homes featured formal parlors that could be decorated for Christmas and used for family gatherings, gift exchanges, and holiday entertaining. These dedicated social spaces made elaborate Christmas celebrations more practical and appealing for middle-class families. The charitable organizations that emerged during the Christmas revival period used the holiday as an opportunity to mobilize middle-class generosity toward the poor and disadvantaged. Christmas became associated with organized charity drives, volunteer work, and systematic efforts to address social problems through private philanthropy. This charitable dimension of Christmas helped justify elaborate celebration by connecting it to moral improvement and social responsibility. The international cultural exchange that influenced American Christmas revival included not just English and German traditions, but also French, Dutch, and Scandinavian customs that arrived with various immigrant groups. These diverse cultural influences were gradually synthesized into distinctly American Christmas traditions that combined elements from multiple European sources while developing uniquely American characteristics that reflected national values and preferences. The gender dynamics of Christmas transformation reflected broader changes in women's roles and domestic ideology during the Victorian era. Christmas celebration became associated with feminine domestic skills like cooking, decorating, and gift preparation, giving women important authority over family cultural life while reinforcing ideals about women's natural aptitude for creating emotional warmth and family happiness through domestic activities. The childhood psychology that emerged during the Victorian Christmas revival emphasized children's natural innocence, imagination, and capacity for wonder that adults could appreciate and nurture through proper Christmas celebration. This new understanding of childhood made Christmas a vehicle for expressing evolving ideas about child development, family relationships, and the importance of play and imagination
in human development.
The class consciousness that influenced Christmas revival reflected growing American prosperity and the desire of emerging middle classes to demonstrate their social status through elaborate holiday celebrations. Christmas became a way for families to display their economic success, cultural refinement, and social respectability while participating in traditions that seemed both fashionable and morally improving. The religious accommodation that made Christmas acceptable to various Protestant denominations required careful theological navigation that emphasized universal Christian themes rather than denominational specifics. Christmas was repackaged as a celebration of love, charity, and family values that all Christians could embrace, regardless of their particular theological positions on church authority, sacraments, or religious practice. The jolly red-suited Santa Claus that fills our Christmas imagination was not born in the North Pole, but in the bustling streets of 19th century America. Tonight we explore the remarkable transformation of a stern 4th century saint into the most recognizable figure in the world, created through a combination of Dutch folklore, American literature, artistic genius, and ultimately, corporate advertising. In the flickering candlelight of a New York study in 1809, Washington Irving was putting the finishing touches on a satirical history that would accidentally create an American legend. His Knickerbocker's History of New York mentioned a figure called Santa Claus multiple times, transforming the Dutch Sinterklaas from a tall, thin bishop into something more familiar to American readers. Irving had no idea he was taking the first step in creating the most powerful Christmas figure in history. What textbooks never revealed was how deliberately Santa Claus was constructed by American writers and artists who understood the power of mythology in shaping culture. This was not an accidental evolution, but a conscious creation by people who recognized that America needed its own Christmas traditions that could compete with the ancient celebrations of Europe while reflecting distinctly American values and aspirations. The morning frost that covered the windows of New York homes in the 1820s framed scenes of families reading Clement Clarke Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas, better known today as The Night Before Christmas. Moore's 1823 poem revolutionized the American Christmas by creating a completely new version of Santa Claus, a jolly, round, elf-like figure who traveled by reindeer-drawn sleigh and entered homes through chimneys to leave gifts for children. Moore's St. Nicholas bore almost no resemblance to the historical St. Nicholas of Myra, the 4th century Greek bishop known for his generosity to the poor. The original saint was tall, thin, and serious, a theological scholar and church leader who became patron saint of children through his charitable works. Moore transformed this dignified religious figure into something much more playful and magical, perfectly suited to the child-centered Christmas that was emerging in America. The genius of Moore's poem lay in its ability to create a complete mythology around Santa Claus that answered all the practical questions children might ask. How does he visit every house in one night? He travels by flying reindeer. How does he get into houses? He comes down the chimney. Why don't we see him? He comes while everyone is sleeping. Moore created a logical fantasy world that satisfied childhood curiosity while maintaining magical mystery. But it was Thomas Nast, the brilliant political cartoonist, who gave Santa Claus his visual form. Beginning in the 1860s, Nast's illustrations for Harper's Weekly gradually refined and standardized the Santa image. His drawings showed Santa's workshop at the North Pole, his lists of good and bad children, his jolly demeanor, and, most importantly, his evolution from Moore's tiny elf into a full-sized, grandfatherly figure who radiated warmth and kindness.
The winter evenings of the 1870s found American families gathering around Harper's Weekly to see Nast's latest Santa illustration. These images were far more than entertainment. They were cultural education, teaching Americans what Santa looked like, where he lived, and how he operated. Nast was literally drawing Santa into existence, creating visual consistency that would make the character recognizable and beloved across the entire nation.
Nast's Santa served important cultural functions beyond simple Christmas entertainment. During the Civil War, Nast drew Santa supporting Union troops, making him a symbol of Northern values and American unity. His Santa rewarded good behavior and punished bad conduct, reinforcing middle-class values about morality and self-improvement. The character became a way of teaching children about consequences, charity, and proper behavior. The technological advances of the late 19th century helped spread Nast's Santa images throughout American society. Improved printing techniques made his illustrations more vivid and appealing. Railroad networks distributed Harper's Weekly to remote communities. Telegraph communication allowed for coordinated Christmas marketing campaigns. Santa was becoming not just a character in stories and pictures, but a commercial force that could drive consumer behavior. The department stores of the 1880s and 1890s were quick to recognize Santa's commercial potential. They created elaborate Santa displays, hired men to dress as Santa for children's visits, and used Santa imagery in their Christmas advertising. The first department store Santa appeared in Philadelphia in 1841, creating a new tradition that would spread to every major city in America. Children could now meet Santa in person, making him seem more real and immediate. The Salvation Army's adoption of Santa costumes in the 1890s added another layer to the character's cultural significance. When the organization needed to raise money for Christmas meals for the poor, they dressed unemployed men in Santa suits and sent them onto street corners with bells and donation kettles. This connected Santa not just with gift-giving to children, but with charity toward the needy, reinforcing his association with Christian values of generosity and compassion. But the most dramatic transformation of Santa Claus came in the 1930s through the artistic genius of Haddon Sundblom and the marketing power of Coca-Cola. When the soft drink company wanted to boost winter sales, they commissioned Sundblom to create a new series of Santa illustrations that would connect their product with the warmth and joy of Christmas celebration. What Sundblom created became the definitive image of Santa Claus for the modern world. The soft glow of Sundblom's paintings captured a Santa who was both magical and human, grandfatherly yet energetic, traditional yet contemporary. His Santa wore red and white colors that happened to match Coca-Cola's brand. But more importantly, he embodied a perfect balance of authority and approachability that made him irresistible to children and comforting to adults. Sundblom's Santa looked like everyone's ideal grandfather, complete with twinkling eyes and a knowing smile. Sundblom used his friend Lou Prentice as a model for the early Santa paintings, and later used himself as inspiration when Prentice died. This grounded Santa in real human features and expressions, making him seem more authentic and relatable than earlier artistic interpretations. Sundblom's Santa was painted with the same attention to detail and emotional nuance that fine artists brought to portraits, elevating Santa from cartoon character to cultural icon. The global reach of Coca-Cola's marketing ensured that Sundblom's Santa would become the international standard for how Santa Claus looked and behaved. The company's advertisements appeared in magazines, on billboards, in store displays, and eventually on television screens around the world. Sundblom's Santa became so widely recognized that other versions began to seem inauthentic or outdated. Corporate marketing had succeeded in standardizing a mythological figure. The psychological appeal of Santa Claus reflected deep human needs for security, generosity, and magical thinking that transcended religious or cultural boundaries. Santa offered children a figure who knew them personally, rewarded good behavior, and delivered happiness without conditions or complications. For adults, Santa represented idealized parenthood and the possibility of creating joy for others. The character satisfied emotional needs that formal religion or secular culture struggled to address. The business of Santa Claus grew exponentially throughout the 20th century as marketers discovered his extraordinary power to influence consumer behavior. Santa's image could sell anything from toys to automobiles, from clothing to electronics. His endorsement implied quality, safety, and child-friendly appeal that made products irresistible to parents. Santa became perhaps the most valuable spokesperson in advertising history, commanding premium prices for his promotional appearances. The morning light that streamed through department store windows in the 1950s illuminated elaborate Santa displays that had become major tourist attractions in their own right. Families would travel across cities and even states to visit famous department store Santas, making these encounters important family traditions and childhood memories. The commercialization of Santa had created new forms of pilgrimage and celebration that rivaled traditional religious observances. The television era brought Santa into American homes with unprecedented frequency and intimacy. Christmas specials, commercials, and children's programs featured Santa throughout the holiday season, making him a constant presence in family life. Television Santa could move and speak, making him seem more real and immediate than static images in magazines or store displays. The medium perfect for bringing fantasy to life had found its perfect subject. The psychological impact of Santa belief on children became a subject of considerable study and debate among parents, educators, and child development experts. Some worried that Santa stories taught children to be materialistic or to expect rewards without effort. Others argued that Santa belief encouraged imagination, generosity, and moral behavior. The debate revealed how seriously Americans took the cultural role of Santa in shaping childhood experience and values. The globalization of American Christmas culture ensured that Santa Claus would become an international figure who competed with local Christmas traditions around the world. American movies, television shows, and advertisements spread Santa imagery to countries with their own gift-giving figures and Christmas customs. This cultural imperialism sometimes created tension between American Santa and indigenous traditions, but also created new hybrid celebrations that combined elements from multiple cultures. The evening snow that fell on American towns in the late 20th century covered landscapes where Santa had become more than a character or spokesperson, but a genuine cultural institution with his own infrastructure of believers, interpreters, and defenders. Santa letter-writing campaigns, Santa tracking websites, Santa schools for professional performers, and Santa museums all testified to the elaborate cultural apparatus that had grown up around this invented figure. The digital age brought new challenges and opportunities for Santa mythology. Children could email Santa, track his Christmas Eve journey on websites, and video chat with Santa performers around the world. But the same technology that made Santa more accessible also made it easier for children to discover the truth about his fictional nature. Maintaining Santa belief became more complicated in an age of instant information
and digital skepticism.
The modern Santa industry employs thousands of people in roles ranging from department store performers to professional Santa schools that teach proper Santa behavior and appearance. These institutions maintain standards for Santa portrayal that ensure consistency across different venues and performers. The commercialization of Santa has created a legitimate entertainment industry with its own professional practices, ethical standards, and quality control measures. The scientific explanations that have grown up around Santa mythology demonstrate the human need to reconcile fantasy with reality. Physicists have calculated the speed Santa would need to visit every house in one night. Engineers have designed theoretical reindeer propulsion systems. Computer scientists have created algorithms for optimal gift delivery routes. These playful applications of serious knowledge show how deeply Santa has penetrated even rational, scientific thinking. The cultural criticism of Santa Claus has emerged from various directions, with some arguing that he represents excessive commercialism, others that he promotes materialism among children, and still others that he excludes non-Christian families from mainstream Christmas celebration. These debates reflect deeper tensions about the role of fantasy in childhood education, the influence of marketing on family life, and the balance between tradition and inclusion in diverse societies. The therapeutic applications of Santa belief have been recognized by child psychologists, who note that Santa stories can help children process complex emotions about generosity, disappointment, and magical thinking. Santa provides a safe framework for exploring themes of reward and punishment, desire and gratification, belief and skepticism that are central to childhood development. The character serves psychological functions that extend far beyond simple entertainment or marketing. The morning sun that rises on December 26th each year illuminates a world where Santa Claus has completed another successful Christmas journey, reinforcing his mythology through millions of positive experiences. Children who found presents under the tree, families who enjoyed Santa visits, and communities that celebrated Santa parades all contribute to maintaining the cultural consensus that keeps Santa alive and influential year after year. What they never taught in school was that Santa Claus represents one of the most successful examples of cultural creation in human history. Starting with scattered folklore and transformed through literature, art, and marketing into a global icon, Santa demonstrates how modern societies can create new mythologies that serve important psychological and social functions, while generating enormous economic value. As the winter wind carries Santa's sleigh bells into memory for another year, we can appreciate the remarkable journey that transformed a minor saint into the most recognizable figure on Earth. From Washington Irving's satirical Dutchman to Haddon Sundblom's grandfatherly icon, Santa Claus embodies America's genius for taking diverse cultural elements and creating something entirely new, powerful, and enduring. He remains proof that in a world of rapid change and technological advancement, there is still room for magic, generosity, and the enduring power of believing in something wonderful. The merchandising revolution that surrounded Santa Claus created entire industries dedicated to producing Santa-related products, from costumes and decorations to books and toys. Santa became perhaps the first truly global brand, with his image licensed for use on countless products and in countless contexts. This commercialization of Santa raised questions about the relationship between authentic folklore and corporate marketing.
but also demonstrated the extraordinary economic value of well-developed cultural symbols. The training programs that emerged for professional Santa performers reflected the serious business of maintaining Santa's cultural authenticity and appeal. Santa schools taught proper Santa behavior, costume standards, child interaction techniques, and the mythology that Santas needed to maintain. These programs ensured consistency in Santa portrayal while creating career opportunities for people who specialized in bringing Santa to life for children and families.
The international variations of Santa Claus that developed in different countries show how American Santa imagery influenced, but did not completely replace local Christmas traditions. While Sunbloom Santa became internationally recognizable, local variations emerged that combined American Santa characteristics with indigenous cultural elements, creating hybrid figures that honored both global and local Christmas traditions. The technological innovations that enhanced Santa mythology included everything from radio broadcasts and television specials to computer programs that tracked Santa's Christmas Eve journey and allowed children to communicate with Santa through digital media. Each new technology was quickly adapted to serve Santa mythology, demonstrating the character's remarkable ability to evolve with changing times while maintaining his essential appeal. The academic study of Santa Claus has produced scholarly research in fields ranging from anthropology and folklore to psychology and marketing. Universities have offered courses on Santa mythology. Researchers have analyzed the cultural functions of Santa belief, and historians have traced the evolution of Santa imagery across different media and time periods. Santa has become a legitimate subject of serious academic inquiry. The legal questions surrounding Santa Claus have included trademark disputes over Santa imagery, labor regulations for Santa performers, and copyright issues related to Santa stories and songs. The commercialization of Santa has created complex legal frameworks that attempt to balance traditional folklore with modern intellectual property rights, revealing the complicated relationship between culture and commerce in contemporary society. The therapeutic applications of Santa imagery in healthcare settings demonstrate the character's power to comfort and inspire people during difficult times. Hospitals use Santa visits to cheer pediatric patients. Nursing homes employ Santa programs to engage elderly residents. And therapy programs incorporate Santa imagery to help children process trauma and anxiety. Santa's association with kindness and magic makes him valuable for healing and emotional support. The environmental impact of Santa-related consumption has become a concern as awareness of climate change and resource depletion has grown. The carbon footprint of global Santa merchandise production, the waste generated by Santa-themed disposable decorations, and the environmental cost of elaborate Santa displays have prompted efforts to create more sustainable Santa-related celebrations and products. The multicultural adaptations of Santa Claus in diverse American communities show how immigrant groups have modified Santa imagery to reflect their own cultural values and traditions, while participating in mainstream American Christmas celebration. These adaptations demonstrate Santa's flexibility as a cultural symbol that can accommodate different ethnic and religious perspectives while maintaining his essential identity. The future evolution of Santa Claus will likely involve continued adaptation to changing technology, social values, and global awareness. Virtual reality Santa experiences, artificial intelligence Santa conversations, and augmented reality Santa tracking represent just the beginning of how new technologies might enhance Santa mythology. The challenge will be maintaining Santa's essential magic while incorporating innovations that serve new generations of children and families. The evergreen tree that stands glowing in American living rooms each December carries within its branches a story of cultural migration religious adaptation, and the quiet power of domestic tradition. Tonight, we explore how German immigrants transformed American Christmas forever by bringing a simple tree into their new homeland, creating one of the most enduring and beloved symbols of the holiday season. The winter winds of 1830 carried an unusual sight through the snow-covered streets of Worcester, Ohio. August Imgard, a German immigrant, was walking home carrying a small blue spruce tree that he planned to decorate with paper ornaments and candles, following a tradition from his homeland. His American neighbors watched with curiosity and some suspicion as he brought the tree indoors, having no idea they were witnessing the introduction of what would become America's most iconic Christmas symbol. What educators never explained was how profoundly German immigrants influenced American Christmas celebration, bringing with them centuries-old traditions that would gradually reshape how the entire nation observed the holiday. The Christmas tree was just one of many German contributions that included gingerbread houses, advent calendars, Christmas markets, and the very concept of Christmas as a magical, child-centered celebration focused on family warmth and domestic happiness. The history of the Christmas tree reaches back to medieval Germany, where it evolved from ancient winter solstice celebrations and Christian mystery plays. In the 14th and 15th centuries, paradise trees were decorated with apples and displayed on December 24th to represent the Garden of Eden in religious dramas about Adam and Eve. These evolved into Christmas trees as families began bringing decorated evergreens into their homes to celebrate the birth of Christ. The morning light that streamed through the windows of German homes in the 16th century illuminated trees decorated with roses made of colored paper, apples, wafers, and small candles that flickered like stars. This was Christmas magic brought indoors, transforming the winter darkness into something warm and wonderful. The tradition spread slowly through German-speaking regions, but remained largely unknown in the rest of Europe until royal marriages began carrying German customs to other courts. German-speaking immigrants had been arriving in America since the late 17th century, settling primarily in Pennsylvania, where they established communities that maintained their traditional customs and celebrations. Many of these immigrants came from regions where the Christmas tree tradition was already well established, but others came from areas where it was unknown or where religious beliefs discouraged Christmas celebration altogether. Not all Germans brought Christmas trees to America, but enough did to plant the seeds of what would become a national tradition. The resistance that German Christmas traditions initially encountered in America reflected the same Puritan suspicions that had banned Christmas in Massachusetts. Many Americans viewed Christmas trees as pagan symbols that had no place in Christian homes. The trees were associated with Catholic and Lutheran practices that seemed foreign and potentially dangerous to Protestant communities that emphasized simple, biblical Christianity without elaborate rituals or decorations. Charles Dickens, a German political refugee who became a Harvard professor, is often credited with introducing the Christmas tree to Boston society in the 1830s. When he decorated a tree for his family and invited neighbors to see it, he was consciously sharing a piece of German culture with his new American community. Dickens understood that cultural traditions could build bridges between different ethnic groups and help immigrants feel more connected to their new homeland. The evening gatherings around early American Christmas trees were intimate family affairs that emphasized the German values of Gemütlichkeit, a concept that combined coziness, warmth, and emotional closeness. These celebrations were quiet and contemplative, rather than boisterous and public, focusing on children's wonder and family bonds rather than community festivities. The Christmas tree created a sacred space within the home that brought families together in shared appreciation of beauty and tradition. Queen Victoria's German heritage played a crucial role in legitimizing Christmas trees for English-speaking audiences. When Prince Albert, her German-born husband, introduced Christmas trees to the British royal family, illustrated newspapers showed the royal family gathered around their decorated tree. This image, reprinted in American magazines like Godey's Lady's Book, made Christmas trees seem respectable and fashionable rather than foreign and suspicious. The transformation of American Christmas tree tradition involved significant adaptations to local conditions and preferences. German trees were typically smaller and placed on tables rather than floors. American trees grew larger and grander, eventually reaching from floor to ceiling and becoming the central focus of family living spaces. German decorations emphasized edible ornaments like cookies and candy. American decorations became increasingly elaborate and commercially produced. The winter landscape of Pennsylvania in the 1840s was dotted with German farmsteads where Christmas trees glowed in windows like beacons of warmth and tradition. These rural German communities maintained their Christmas customs with little interference from English-speaking neighbors who remained suspicious of unfamiliar celebrations. The geographic concentration of German immigrants in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and other Midwest states created cultural islands where German Christmas traditions could survive and evolve. The commercial development of Christmas tree farming began in the 1850s as demand for trees spread beyond German immigrant communities. Entrepreneurs recognized the business opportunity presented by growing American interest in Christmas trees and began cultivating evergreens specifically for the Christmas market. The first Christmas tree farm opened in New Jersey in 1901, marking the complete transformation of the Christmas tree from ethnic folk custom to American commercial enterprise. German ornament-making traditions brought new levels of beauty and craftsmanship to American Christmas celebration. The Erzgebirge region of Germany was famous for its wooden Christmas ornaments, carved with intricate detail and painted in bright colors. German immigrants brought these skills to America, creating ornament-making businesses that would supply decorations for the growing American Christmas tree market. Glass ornament making, also pioneered in Germany, followed the same pattern of ethnic tradition becoming American industry. The technological innovations that made Christmas tree celebration more practical and appealing were often German in origin. The development of candle holders that could safely attach to tree branches allowed for the magical illumination that made trees so appealing. Improved glass-making techniques created beautiful ornaments that reflected and enhanced candlelight. These technical advances made Christmas trees safer and more spectacular, contributing to their growing popularity. The social dynamics of Christmas tree adoption revealed important patterns about how ethnic traditions spread in American society. Upper-class families were often the first to adopt German Christmas customs because they had the leisure and resources to experiment with new forms of celebration. Middle-class families followed as the customs became more familiar and socially acceptable. Working-class families adopted simplified versions that fit their economic circumstances and living situations. The role of women in spreading Christmas tree tradition was particularly important because Christmas preparation and decoration were considered feminine responsibilities. German immigrant women taught their American neighbors how to decorate trees, make traditional ornaments, and create the festive atmosphere that made Christmas trees so appealing. Women's magazines played a crucial role in spreading information about Christmas tree decoration and making the tradition seem fashionable and desirable. The morning snow that covered American cities in the 1860s concealed a retail revolution as stores began selling Christmas trees, ornaments, and decorations to meet growing demand for German-inspired Christmas celebration. What had begun as an ethnic folk custom
was becoming a major commercial enterprise that employed thousands of people in tree farming, ornament manufacturing, and holiday retail. The Christmas tree had become an economic force as well as a cultural symbol.
The Civil War period brought new meaning to Christmas tree tradition as families used the symbol to maintain connections with absent loved ones and express hopes for peace and reunion. Military units sometimes set up Christmas trees in camps and hospitals, bringing comfort to soldiers far from home. The Christmas tree became associated with home, family, and the civilian values that soldiers were fighting to protect and preserve. The religious integration of Christmas trees required careful theological navigation, as different Protestant denominations debated whether decorated trees were appropriate for Christian homes. Some ministers argued that Christmas trees were pagan symbols that distracted from the religious meaning of the holiday. Others maintained that trees could serve as Christian symbols if properly understood as representations of eternal life or the tree of life from biblical tradition. Regional variations in Christmas tree tradition developed as the custom spread across America and adapted to local conditions and preferences. Southern families often placed trees on porches or in courtyards because of warmer weather. Western families adapted to different species of evergreen trees that were native to their regions. Urban families dealt with smaller living spaces by using smaller trees or focusing decorations on mantels and windows rather than floor-standing trees. The educational aspects of Christmas tree tradition were significant, as families used tree decoration to teach children about beauty, creativity, and cultural heritage. Making ornaments became a family activity that passed on practical skills while creating shared memories and experiences. Children learned about their German ancestry through Christmas traditions, even as those traditions were becoming thoroughly Americanized through adaptation and commercialization. The environmental impact of Christmas tree farming became apparent as the custom spread and demand for trees grew exponentially. By the late 19th century, concerns about forest deforestation led to the development of tree farms specifically dedicated to growing Christmas trees. This solved the environmental problem while creating new agricultural industries that specialized in holiday tree production. Modern Christmas tree farming became a sophisticated agricultural practice that balanced commercial needs with environmental responsibility. The evening light that glowed through the windows of American homes in the 1880s revealed Christmas trees that had evolved far beyond their German origins to become distinctly American symbols that expressed national values of family prosperity, consumer abundance, and technological progress. American Christmas trees were larger, more elaborate, and more commercially sophisticated than their German ancestors, reflecting the unique character of American Christmas celebration. The public Christmas tree tradition began when communities started erecting large outdoor trees in town squares and public spaces. These community trees served different functions from family trees, creating shared symbols that brought diverse populations together in common celebration. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, first erected in 1931, became the most famous public Christmas tree in America and a symbol of national Christmas celebration that transcended ethnic and regional differences. The technological revolution of electric lighting transformed Christmas trees from dangerous fire hazards into safer, more spectacular displays. Thomas Edison's development of electric Christmas lights in the 1880s made it possible to leave trees lit for extended periods without risk of fire. This technological advance made Christmas trees more practical for American families, while creating even more magical and impressive displays that enhanced the holiday's appeal. The psychological appeal of Christmas trees tapped into deep human connections to nature, light, and seasonal renewal that transcended specific cultural or religious traditions. The sight of an evergreen tree glowing with lights in the darkness of winter provided comfort, hope, and beauty
that spoke to universal human needs for warmth and illumination during the darkest time of year. This universal appeal helped Christmas trees spread beyond German immigrant communities to become symbols embraced by Americans of all backgrounds. The artificial Christmas tree industry developed in response to practical concerns about fire safety, forest conservation, and convenience for urban families. German manufacturers had created artificial trees using goose feathers as early as the 1880s. American manufacturers later developed trees using other materials, including aluminum and various plastics. These artificial alternatives maintained the symbolic value of Christmas trees while addressing practical concerns about safety and environmental impact. The global spread of American Christmas tree tradition represented a reversal of cultural flow, as American versions of German customs were exported back to Germany and to other countries around the world. American Christmas movies, advertisements, and cultural products spread the image of large, elaborately decorated Christmas trees to countries that had different Christmas traditions. The American Christmas tree became an international symbol that influenced Christmas celebration worldwide. The morning sunlight that streams through American windows on December 26th each year illuminates the remnants of Christmas tree celebration that has become so thoroughly integrated into American culture that its German origins are largely forgotten. Most Americans who set up Christmas trees each year have no knowledge of the immigrant families who brought this tradition across the Atlantic Ocean and gradually shared it with their new neighbors until it became one of the defining symbols of American Christmas. What they never taught in school was that the Christmas tree represents one of the most successful examples of cultural assimilation in American history, demonstrating how immigrant traditions can enrich and transform mainstream American culture when they meet genuine human needs and desires. The German Christmas tree became the American Christmas tree through a process of adaptation and adoption that honored both its cultural origins and its new homeland. As the winter winds whisper through the evergreen branches that grace American homes each December, they carry the voices of German immigrants who shared their treasured traditions with new neighbors, creating bridges of understanding and appreciation that would ultimately transform how an entire nation celebrated Christmas. They remind us that America's greatest achievements often come from the willingness of different cultures to share their gifts with each other, creating something new and wonderful that honors the past while embracing the future. The manufacturing innovations that emerged from Christmas tree popularity included the development of specialized tree stands, improved candle holders, and safety equipment designed to reduce fire hazards. American inventors created numerous patents for Christmas tree-related products, demonstrating how ethnic traditions could stimulate technological innovation and create new industries. These innovations made Christmas trees safer and more practical for American homes. The transportation networks that developed to supply Christmas trees to urban markets required complex logistics and seasonal labor systems. Railroad companies created special Christmas tree cars, shipping companies developed winter transportation routes, and retail networks emerged to distribute trees from rural farms to city customers. The Christmas tree trade became an important seasonal economy that employed thousands of people. The cultural adaptation of German Christmas tree traditions involved significant modifications to accommodate American preferences, living spaces, and social customs. American trees became larger and more elaborate than their German predecessors. Decorations became more commercialized and standardized, and tree selection became a family activity that emphasized consumer choice rather than traditional custom. The religious integration of Christmas trees required careful theological interpretation as different Christian denominations debated whether decorated trees were appropriate for religious homes. Some churches embraced Christmas trees as symbols of eternal life or natural creation, while others remained suspicious of traditions that seemed to emphasize decoration over devotion. This religious debate influenced how Christmas trees were understood and displayed in American homes.
The scientific study of evergreen trees for Christmas use led to agricultural research that improved tree cultivation, extended tree freshness, and developed new varieties specifically suited for indoor display. Christmas tree farming became a specialized agricultural practice that combined traditional farming knowledge with scientific research and commercial innovation. This research benefited both Christmas tree growers and environmentally conscious consumers. The artistic influence of Christmas trees on American decorative arts can be seen in everything from textile designs and wallpaper patterns to architectural elements and landscape gardening. Christmas tree imagery became a popular motif in American decorative arts, influencing how designers and artists incorporated natural elements into their work. The Christmas tree helped establish evergreen symbolism as an important element in American visual culture. The psychological research on Christmas trees has revealed their importance as symbols of home, family, and seasonal celebration that provide emotional benefits beyond simple decoration. Studies suggest that Christmas trees create positive associations with home and family that can improve mood and strengthen family bonds. The presence of a Christmas tree can trigger positive memories and emotions that enhance holiday celebration and family relationships. The economic multiplier effects of Christmas tree cultivation extend far beyond tree farming to include transportation, retail, decoration manufacturing, and seasonal employment in multiple sectors. The Christmas tree industry supports rural communities, provides seasonal income for farmers, and creates employment opportunities in urban retail markets. The economic impact of Christmas trees demonstrates how cultural traditions can generate significant economic activity. The international trade in Christmas trees and decorations has made American-style Christmas trees available worldwide, while also bringing international tree varieties and decoration styles to American markets. This global Christmas tree trade has created cultural exchange opportunities and economic relationships that connect American communities to international partners while spreading American Christmas traditions to other countries. The environmental sustainability movement has influenced modern Christmas tree practices through organic farming methods, recycling programs, and alternative celebration approaches that reduce environmental impact. Christmas tree farmers have developed sustainable cultivation practices, communities have created tree recycling programs, and some families have adopted alternatives like living trees that can be planted after the holidays. The final transformation of Christmas in America came not through culture or tradition, but through the stroke of a presidential pen. Tonight, we conclude our journey through America's hidden Christmas history by exploring how a Civil War president made Christmas legal, how corporations made it profitable, and how the holiday became the economic and cultural phenomenon that shapes American life every December. The summer heat of June 28, 1870, shimmered over Washington, D.C., as President Ulysses S. Grant signed legislation that would forever change American Christmas. With his signature on a bill introduced by Illinois Congressman Burton Chauncey Cook, Grant made Christmas a federal holiday for government workers in the District of Columbia. It was a quiet moment with enormous implications, marking the official end of America's long struggle over whether Christmas deserved legal recognition and government support. What textbooks never revealed was that Grant's decision to make Christmas a federal holiday was as much about healing a divided nation as it was about recognizing a religious celebration. In the aftermath of the Civil War, The President and Congress were looking for ways to unite Americans around shared traditions and common values. Christmas offered the perfect opportunity to create national bonds that transcended regional and political divisions that had torn the country apart. The morning light that broke over the reconstructed nation on Christmas Day, 1870, illuminated a country where Christmas was no longer a matter of regional custom or religious preference, but a legally recognized national holiday. Federal workers had the day off with pay, setting a precedent that would gradually spread to state governments, private businesses, and, eventually, the entire American economy. Christmas had achieved official status that would anchor its place in American life forever. Grant's Christmas legislation was part of a broader effort to create federal holidays that would give Americans shared times for reflection, celebration, and national unity. The same bill that created Christmas as a federal holiday also recognized New Year's Day, Independence Day, and Thanksgiving. These four holidays became the foundation of the American holiday calendar, creating rhythm and structure for national life while providing opportunities for patriotic and cultural expression. The constitutional questions raised by making Christmas a federal holiday were significant, but largely overlooked at the time. Critics argued that government recognition of a religious holiday violated the separation of church and state established by the First Amendment. Defenders responded that Christmas had become as much a cultural celebration as a religious observance, and that recognizing it was no different from acknowledging other cultural institutions that shaped American life. The economic implications of federal Christmas recognition became apparent almost immediately as businesses realized they could profit from the holiday by offering special products, services, and experiences. Department stores expanded their Christmas offerings. Manufacturers created Christmas-specific products, and entrepreneurs developed new forms of Christmas entertainment and celebration. The legal status of Christmas provided confidence for business investment in holiday commerce. The winter evenings of the 1880s found American families browsing through department stores that had transformed into Christmas wonderlands, complete with elaborate displays, hired Santa performers, and merchandise designed specifically for holiday gift-giving. These stores created new forms of Christmas experience that combined entertainment, education, and consumption in ways that would define American Christmas for generations to come. The advertising industry discovered Christmas as perhaps the most powerful theme for promoting consumer spending. Christmas advertisements began appearing in newspapers and magazines, promoting everything from toys and jewelry to clothing and household goods. Advertisers learned that Christmas messaging could make ordinary products seem special and necessary, creating emotional connections between consumers and brands that transcended rational decision-making about purchases. The Coca-Cola Company's Christmas campaigns of the 1930s demonstrated the extraordinary power of holiday marketing to create lasting cultural images and associations. When artist Haddon Sundblom created his warm, grandfatherly Santa for Coca-Cola advertisements, he was not just selling soft drinks, but helping to define how Americans visualized Christmas itself. Corporate marketing had become a force for creating and shaping cultural traditions. The development of Christmas as a retail season transformed the American economy by creating a predictable period of increased consumer spending that could sustain businesses through slower periods. Retailers learned to depend on Christmas sales for significant portions of their annual profits, leading to earlier and more elaborate Christmas marketing campaigns. The phenomenon of Christmas shopping became as important to American Christmas as religious services or family gatherings. The morning frost that covered store windows in the 1950s framed displays that revealed how thoroughly Christmas had been integrated into American consumer culture. Christmas shopping had become a family activity that taught children about desire, generosity, and the relationship between money and happiness. Parents used Christmas gift-giving to express love, demonstrate prosperity, and participate in broader cultural conversations about success and family values. The credit revolution of the mid-20th century made Christmas consumption accessible to families who might not have had sufficient cash savings for elaborate celebrations. Christmas buying on credit became socially acceptable and economically important, allowing families to participate in expanding gift-giving traditions while spreading the cost over several months. This democratization of Christmas consumption helped make elaborate celebration a mass phenomenon rather than an upper-class privilege. The television era brought Christmas into American homes with unprecedented frequency and commercial sophistication. Christmas specials, advertisements, and programming created shared national Christmas experiences while providing platforms for advertising Christmas products and services. Television made Christmas a more intense and immersive cultural experience, while also making it more commercial and consumer-oriented. The suburban development of post-war America created new opportunities for Christmas expression through elaborate home decorations, neighborhood competitions, and community celebrations. Christmas lights displays became forms of suburban art and social communication, allowing families to express their creativity, prosperity, and community spirit. The suburban Christmas became a new form of American spectacle that attracted tourists and media attention. The mall culture of the 1970s and 1980s centralized Christmas shopping in climate-controlled environments designed specifically for consumer convenience and business profit. Shopping malls became Christmas destinations in their own right, offering not just retail opportunities but entertainment, dining, and social experiences centered around holiday themes. The mall Santa became a new American institution that supplemented and sometimes replaced traditional Christmas figures. The evening glow of Christmas lights that now covers American neighborhoods each December represents the culmination of a transformation that began with federal recognition in 1870 and accelerated through commercial innovation, technological advancement, and cultural evolution. Christmas has become perhaps the most visible and economically important cultural celebration in American life, touching every sector of the economy and every aspect of family experience. The globalization of American Christmas culture has made American-style Christmas celebration influential around the world, spreading through movies, television, advertising, and commercial products that carry American Christmas imagery and traditions to countries with very different cultural and religious backgrounds. American Christmas has become a form of cultural export that influences how other societies understand and celebrate the holiday. The digital revolution has created new forms of Christmas commerce through online shopping, social media marketing, and digital entertainment that have further intensified the commercial aspects of American Christmas. Families can now shop for Christmas gifts year-round, track Santa's progress in real time, and share Christmas experiences instantly with extended networks of family and friends. Technology has made Christmas both more convenient and more complex. The environmental consciousness of the late 20th and early 21st centuries has raised new questions about the sustainability of American Christmas consumption patterns. Critics point to the waste generated by elaborate packaging, disposable decorations, and unwanted gifts as evidence that Christmas has become environmentally irresponsible. Defenders argue that Christmas generosity and family bonding justify the environmental costs, while working to develop more sustainable celebration practices. The cultural criticism of commercialized Christmas has emerged from various sources, including religious leaders who worry that commercial emphasis has obscured religious meaning. social critics who argue that Christmas promotes materialism and debt, and cultural observers who note that commercial Christmas excludes families who cannot afford elaborate celebrations. These debates reflect deeper tensions about the role of commerce in American cultural life. The economic data on American Christmas spending reveals the extraordinary scale of the holiday's commercial impact. Americans spend hundreds of billions of dollars on Christmas gifts, decorations, food, and entertainment each year, making Christmas the largest retail season and one of the most important economic events in the American calendar. Entire industries depend on Christmas sales for their survival and prosperity. The seasonal employment generated by Christmas commerce provides temporary work for millions of Americans in retail, shipping, manufacturing, and service industries. Christmas employment has become an important component of the American labor market, providing income for families who depend on seasonal work to supplement their regular earnings. The Christmas economy has become a significant factor in American employment and income distribution. The psychological research on Christmas consumption has revealed complex relationships between holiday spending, family satisfaction, and individual well-being. Studies suggest that Christmas gift-giving can strengthen family bonds and express important values, but can also create stress, debt, and unrealistic expectations that undermine the holiday's positive potential. The commercialization of Christmas has created both opportunities and challenges for American families. The cultural diversity of modern America has created new challenges and opportunities for Christmas celebration, as families from different religious and ethnic backgrounds navigate participation in a holiday that has Christian origins but secular expressions. Some families embrace Christmas as a cultural rather than religious celebration, while others create hybrid traditions that combine Christmas with their own cultural practices. The morning sunlight that falls on American homes on December 26th each year illuminates the remnants of Christmas celebrations that represent the culmination of centuries of cultural evolution, commercial innovation, and social change. From banned Puritan holiday to federal recognition to global commercial phenomenon, Christmas has become one of the most powerful and influential cultural forces in American life. The future of Christmas in America will likely involve continued evolution as new technologies, changing family structures, environmental concerns, and cultural diversity reshape how Americans understand and celebrate the holiday. The basic elements of Christmas, gift-giving, family gathering, charitable concern, and celebration of hope and joy seem likely to persist even as the specific forms of celebration continue to change and adapt. The morning light that breaks over America each Christmas day illuminates a society that has created one of the most elaborate and influential holiday celebrations in human history. What they never taught in school was that this transformation from banned holiday to beloved tradition to commercial phenomenon represents the full range of American cultural creativity, from literary imagination through artistic genius to commercial innovation and technological advancement. What they never taught in school was that American Christmas is not just a holiday, but a lens through which we can understand the entire sweep of American cultural development. From Puritan theology through Victorian sentiment to corporate marketing and digital commerce, Christmas has reflected and influenced every major change in American society while maintaining its essential promise of hope, joy, and human connection during the darkest time of the year. As the winter wind carries the sounds of Christmas celebration across the American landscape for another year, we can hear in those voices the echoes of all the people who helped create modern Christmas. Puritan theologians and Victorian writers, German immigrants and English queens, political cartoonists and advertising executives, presidents and ordinary families who found in Christmas a way to express their deepest hopes for happiness, generosity, and love. Tonight, as we settle into the quiet satisfaction of another Christmas story told, we can appreciate the remarkable journey that transformed Christmas from illegal celebration to beloved tradition to global phenomenon. The history they never taught in school reveals that Christmas is not just about the past, but about the continuing American capacity to create meaning, beauty, and joy from the diverse materials of human experience and cultural creativity. Like and subscribe to discover more hidden histories that reveal the surprising stories behind our most cherished traditions, the unexpected origins of familiar customs, and the remarkable people whose creativity and courage helped shape the America we know today. Every tradition has a story, every celebration has a history, and every custom connects us to the hopes and dreams of those who came before us. The international trade policies that have been influenced by Christmas commerce include import regulations for Christmas decorations, toys, and seasonal merchandise that arrive from manufacturing centers around the world. Christmas has become such an important retail season that trade policies often consider the timing and availability of Christmas goods when setting tariff schedules and import quotas. The globalization of Christmas commerce has made the holiday an important factor in international economic relationships. The labor movement's relationship with Christmas commerce has been complex, as retail workers, shipping employees, and manufacturing workers often face increased demands during the Christmas season, while also benefiting from seasonal employment opportunities. Labor unions have negotiated for holiday pay, reasonable scheduling, and worker safety during peak Christmas periods. The Christmas economy has created both opportunities and challenges for American workers. The financial services industry has developed specialized products and services to support Christmas commerce, including Christmas clubs for saving money throughout the year, special holiday credit offerings, and gift card programs that have become important components of the Christmas economy. Banks and credit card companies now depend on Christmas spending for significant portions of their annual profits, making Christmas an important factor in American financial services. The transportation infrastructure that supports Christmas commerce includes shipping networks, airline cargo systems, trucking operations, and local delivery services that must expand capacity and extend hours to handle increased Christmas volume. Christmas logistics have become so complex that they require year-round planning and coordination among multiple transportation providers. The Christmas shipping season has become a test of American transportation capabilities. The technological innovations that have enhanced Christmas shopping include point-of-sale systems, inventory management software, online payment processing, and mobile shopping applications that make Christmas commerce more efficient and convenient. Technology companies often release new products and services specifically for the Christmas market, making Christmas an important driver of technological innovation and adoption. The social media revolution has transformed Christmas commerce by creating new platforms for Christmas marketing, gift recommendations, and holiday sharing that connect consumers with retailers and with each other in unprecedented ways. Christmas social media campaigns have become major marketing events that can influence consumer behavior and drive sales across multiple channels. Social media has made Christmas commerce more interactive and socially connected. The data analytics industry has found Christmas commerce to be a rich source of consumer behavior information that can be analyzed to understand shopping patterns, predict demand, and optimize pricing strategies. Christmas shopping data provides insights into consumer preferences, family spending patterns, and economic trends that are valuable for business planning and economic forecasting. Christmas has become an important source of economic intelligence. The security industry has had to adapt to Christmas commerce through enhanced retail security, package theft prevention, and cybersecurity measures that protect online Christmas shopping. Christmas shopping creates security challenges that require specialized responses from law enforcement, private security companies, and cybersecurity firms. The Christmas economy has created new security needs and opportunities. The regulatory environment that governs Christmas commerce includes consumer protection laws, advertising standards, product safety regulations, and truth in advertising requirements that are particularly important during the Christmas shopping season. Government agencies often increase enforcement activities during Christmas to protect consumers from fraudulent or unsafe products and practices. Christmas commerce operates within a complex regulatory framework designed to protect consumers and ensure fair business practices. The academic research on Christmas commerce has produced studies in fields ranging from economics and marketing to psychology and sociology that analyze the impact of Christmas on consumer behavior, family relationships, and social structures. Universities offer courses on Christmas marketing, researchers study Christmas consumer psychology, and business schools analyze Christmas retail strategies. Christmas has become a legitimate subject of serious academic research.